Well, the Winter Olympics are underway from the icy nether regions of Beijing. So let's check in and see how things are going over there.
Yeah. 咱们啊往前走，哥们儿。哎，行，等一会儿，我先看新闻联播。Ja, we worden hier inmiddels gemerkt al weggetrokken. We zijn net ook al bij een ander gebied weggezet. Dus ik vrees dat wij...
Huh. That sort of thing seems oddly out of character for the same godless regime that once starved and murdered 30 million of its own people in the Great Leap Forward. Who would have ever dreamed that the same country that deifies moral monsters like Chairman Mao, aka Hitler on steroids, might not have been the best ambassador for the spirit of world unity, peace, and brotherhood. So it makes you curious, doesn't it? How do those great titans of justice, I speak, of course, of sports writers, feel about our participation in these shameless propaganda games of China, especially at places like ESPN, owned by the same parent company that takes human rights so seriously that they just suspended Whoopi Goldberg for her misunderstanding and misstatements about the Holocaust. I bet they're going to take a much-needed hard line.
We've never had a more enjoyable NFL playoffs in this country, and yet it goes on amid the ongoing allegations against Dan Snyder, owner of the Washington football team, and the continuous concussion concerns, and now the concerns about diversity and the allegations and the questions about competitive integrity, even all of that, and yet we're still enjoying the games. And who are we to criticize China's human rights records when we have ongoing attacks by the agents of the state against unarmed citizens, and we've got assaults on the voting rights of our people of color in various states in this country?
Or not. You know, there's whataboutism, and then there's that.
Galactically stupid!
I mean, when you've got a regime that is targeting an ethnic and religious minority, raping the women, torturing the dissidents, forcing them onto trains to slave labor camps, imposing re-education, compelling sterilizations, and more, and you go, well, yeah, but what about all those highly compensated athletes that get concussions? I mean, that's pretty much the same thing.
You are really dumb. For real.
Seriously, even if you think that asking someone to show ID when they come to vote is something only a Klansman could support, let's note a couple things. First, saying the response to it should be proportional to the response over human genocide, well, that's Clowntown. And it demonstrates that your moral compass doesn't just need to be recalibrated, it needs to be smashed beyond all human recognition and totally replaced. And second, I remember back during the Black Lives Matter riots as they were sweeping the country, folks like J.A. Adande, who were championing the movement, they got worked into a real lather anytime somebody responded to the slogan Black Lives Matter by saying, well, all lives matter. That wasn't the point, Adande said. The point was a specific injustice that people wanted addressed, and it was offensive to distract and deflect from it. Kinda like when people are pointing to forced sterilization and systematic extermination of an entire people group, and you say,
very hard to find a country that isn't problematic when it comes to human rights, including here.
Meanwhile, as if that isn't humiliating enough, those in our country who know better than anyone how awful the Chinese government is, and who actually have power to do something about it, majority lawmakers in Washington, D.C., how are they handling the issue?
I would say to our athletes, you're there to compete. Do not risk incurring the anger of the Chinese government. I know there is a temptation on the part of some to speak out while they are there.
Keep silent. Don't say anything. Stay in your lane. That's not your job. You know, that sounds an awful lot like...
shut up and dribble.
But that can't be. People like Nancy Pelosi lauded the brave millionaire athletes who were taking a knee and speaking out against such horrific injustices like the police shooting a knife-wielding assailant who had sexually assaulted a woman and was attempting to commandeer a van full of children. But yet she's willing to drop the hammer on the luge guy who wants to go on record saying that sterilizing Uyghur women is bad. Can't anger the Chinese, after all, because who knows what might happen.